Today I compiled 10 of my album reviews of the Rolling Stone 500 Greatest Albums of All Time. Today I listened to album 300, Shania Twain's 1997 album Coming Over. Why doesn't all country sound like this? When I reviewed The Weight of These Wings, I talked about enjoying its pop rock bombast. Now I see that album as a poor imitation of Twain's third album, which is some of the cheesiest guitar riffs and horn licks of all time, courtesy of superstar producer Mutt Lange. The bright and attention-grabbing production serves to perfectly complement Twain herself, who's equal parts flirty, sassy, and self-confident. She's a gooby romantic, but she doesn't self-fools gladly. She's very much an emancipated woman on Man, I Feel Like a Woman, embodying a wink-nudge kind of feminism that's so 90s, and every song feels genuine to Twain. Practically every song is a hit on this monumental record, making this the country version of Born in the USA. Is there a higher compliment? 5 out of 5. Today I listened to album 299, B.B. King's 1965 album Live at the Regal. In 2019, American rapper No Name announced that she no longer wants to perform in front of wide crowds. She recently toured Europe and was widely mocked for her remarks. To defend her for a minute, let's be way to produce music for one audience and have it appreciated by another audience. Anyway, B.B. King is to be one of the greatest blues guitarists of all time, largely playing for black audiences around the US. The late 60s was completely adopted by white blues rock fans after endorsements by Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones, to the extent that he got his first and only top 20 pop hit in 1970. Live at the Regal stands at the exact transition point of his career, the album upon which his reputation amongst the white class was built, with a theatre popular amongst African Americans. So what do I think? B.B. King has always been a bit smooth for my liking. He's thoroughly in control of the stage on this record. The vibe is sometimes more variety show on a cruise than cutting-edge entertainment. Confident, but not captivating. 2.8 out of 5. Today I listened to album 298, Tom Petty's 1989 album Full Moon Fever. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. Tom Petty was a classic rocker who didn't expect you to sit for a minute's worth of verse or build up before the chorus. Petty wrote songs like it was in Bon Jovi or Backstreet Boys, and mainly starting with the tension-growing part of the song. The songs are fairly simple, just a couple chords and a bridge, held together by Petty's supple, inviting, and flexible voice. There's some nice musical moments on this album, like the finger pick on Lullaby Alright For Now, the guitar solo on Running Down a Dream, urgent drum break on the Apartment song with a Bo Diddley beat on The Man with the Heart of His Own. I'm not sure if this album really counts as classic rock. Based on the crowd sounds like Coldplay or any number of pre- or post-Britpop bands. And the jangle pop on Feel a Whole Lot Better won't stand as a place on an R.E.M. or Husker Du album. Mainstream, alternative, rock, country, however you describe it, this record is simply perfect. 5 out of 5. Today I listened to album 297, Peter Gabriel's 1986 album So. So you're the lead singer of pioneering prog rock band Genesis. You start to wonder if working in a band full of egos is really most creatively fulfilling. So you go solo, find some early success in releasing arty proggy pop. But it's the 80s and the prog rock era is coming to an end. There's only one less thing to do. It's time to get funky. I think So has the reputation of being Pete Gabriel's funk album. There's really only two stuttering and jittering talking head style funk songs in this record, namely Big Hit Sledgehammer and Big Time. Those songs are more in line with Gabriel's previous art pop songs. Opener Red Rain and Bush collab Don't Give Up are two highlights on So, even though I would have given Bush a bit more to do. Lots of other tracks are actually quite boring. Needed more funk. 3.3 out of 5. Today I listened to album 296, 1979 album Rust Never Sleeps by Neil Young and Crazy Horse. If you want to listen to a proper review of this album, you're out of luck.
Better to burn out than to fade away.
Neil Young was not the first person to put this in words. The intensity of one's work, passion and creativity inversely correlates to one's lifespan. On My Generation, Pete Townsend said he would wish he would die before he got old. But Neil Young put it particularly bleakly and nihilistic on this track, inspired partly by death like that of Sid Vicious. Unfortunately, this very inspiration. Famously, Kurt Cobain quoted Young in the suicide note. Courtney Love called it a when she read it out at his eulogy. I don't think Young intended his lyric to be a background to suicide. I think he meant it's worth putting in work into your creativity to avoid fading into the background. It's easy to see how the meaning could be misconstrued, including the grungy, downbeat music and Young's typically sardonic singing style. 5 out of 5. Today I listened to album 295, Daft Punk's 2013 album Random Access Memories. When Daft Punk's fourth and final album was released in 2013, it came out with a ton of hype. It's been 8 years since Human after all. It features musical legends like Nile Rodgers, Pharrell Williams, and Julian Casablancas of the Strokes. This record isn't really that compelling. I think it starts quite weakly and downbeats. By the time I got to the third track, Giorgio by Moroder, I was worried I was going to have to listen to 9 minutes of monologue. The song picks up by the end. The next two tracks are also really downbeat, even though I personally adore the Casablancas collab Instant Crush. At this point, long overdue for a party song, and thankfully this is when we find the two Williams collabs, Lose Yourself to Dance and Get Lucky. So the second half of the record definitely works better in the club than the first half, but I find Random Access Memories a bit of a mismatch. It's not being fully thought out. Not sure this RAM will survive when the computer is turned off. 3.2 out of 5. Today I listened to album 294, Weezer's 1994 self-titled album. Have you ever looked at Spotify's artist blurbs? Some of them are convinced you that Sam Has-Been's latest second album is a magnum opus, but many of them are unironically interesting little biographies. Weezer's blurb is just keeping it Weezy. 2017, a 14-year-old girl started a campaign to convince Weezer to cover Toto's 1982 single Africa, and so Weezer covered Rosanna in 2018. Then, Weezer seemingly forgot that they already made the joke, and bafflingly covered Africa anyway. Weezer has 6 self-titled records, and one record called Van Weezer. Absolutely no idea how to review this album. Do I hate it? I hate that it was Weezer which composed the greatest riff of all time on Buddy Holly. Do I love it? I love that serious tunes about mental illness and generational alcoholism are bisected by Surf Wax America of all songs. One of the most anodyne, ludicrous little ditties I ever heard. How can a song be both ludicrous and anodyne? Welcome to Weezer. Wheeze out of Today I listened to album 293, The Breeders' 1993 album Last Splash. The Breeders' second album was one of the most implausible smash hits of the 90s. Kim Deal was the bassist of the Pixies, one of the most influential and important rock bands of the late 80s and 90s, but it was with her side project where she achieved her biggest pop success. Last Splash features some genuine smash hits, like the Whiffle Invisible Man, the folk-inflected Driving on 9, and the jungle pop Divine Hammer, with its lead singer Cannonball, which is a clear masterpiece. Cannonball is one of the strangest pop songs ever reached the top half of the singles chart, starting with Deal's strange well-sung opener, the burling bass line which changes key after the first 2 bars, followed by a relaxed guitar riff which suddenly flows into an outrageous punky chorus. It's so masterfully composed you also wouldn't notice the lyrics are complete nonsense. Fortunately, most of the other songs on the record are less remarkable. Mad Lucas is the previous lullaby, and Roi can never get really properly started, running into vague indie rock noise. 3.1 to 5. Today I listened to album 292, Van Halen's 1998 self-titled album. Eddie Van Halen is one of the archetypal guitar gods. He introduced two-handed tapping to the wall on the instrumental Eruption, a massive barrage of arpeggios that speeds up make your eyes bleed, but in a good way. He wasn't content to just masturbate his guitar for a fawning audience. Van Halen was a proper band with a distinctive frontman, David Lee Roth. Van Halen debut contains most of the notable songs this side of 1984, including Running with the Devil and Ain't Talking About Love, but their cover of The Kinks' Really Got Me was the first proper hit. However, I do think the reputation of this album is flat from behind. If Van Halen had been some kind of one-hit wonder, if it made all the great music that April would, I'm not sure an album of pretty basic glammy rock with admittedly a distinctive guitarist would really be remembered. What I mean is that this is a big album from a big band with a big sound. If Van Halen never gotten big, no one ever had Eddie on the guitar, it would look kinda sad. Luckily, they've become one of the biggest bands of all time. 3.5 out of 5. Today I listened to album 291, Destiny's Child 1999 album The Writings on the Wall. Not all music is made for me. I don't need to be told that men are scum, like on the intro. I'm a man, so I'm perfectly aware, even if women appear to be constantly surprised by this fact. Plus, I never enjoyed 90s R&B. Even this record has a Y2K makeover courtesy of producer Shakespeare. This record was always fighting an uphill battle with. It's easy to compare Destiny Child to Supremes. Both groups consisted of superstar handling lead vocals, with a bunch of replaceable nobodies standing somewhere in the distance. This album seems somehow less timeless than the Supremes. Obviously, more time has passed since Supremes, but things like the painful pun on Bills 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 and the nursery rhyme sample on Temptation make the group sound childish. I do find it interesting to note that Destiny's Child admits to cheating on the song called Confessions, 5 years before Usher did. I guess they were ahead of their time. 2.9 out of 5. Join me soon for another album review. Like, share, comment and subscribe.